Hey, mystery explorers! Have you ever wondered what happens to your mind, your essence, your consciousness when your heart stops beating? For centuries, we've believed death is the end. Lights out, curtain down. But what if I told you science is unraveling a secret that could change everything? Recent studies have captured intense brainwaves after clinical death, children recalling past lives with chilling details, and cells reorganizing into living structures hours after the body dies.
Yes, you heard that right. Death might not be a full stop, but a doorway to something far greater. Buckle up for a mind-blowing journey as we dive into the latest 2025 research that challenges everything you thought you knew about life, death, and what lies beyond. Is consciousness immortal? Does it transform into something we can't even imagine? Hit subscribe, ring that bell, and hold on tight, because this mystery will keep you on the edge of your seat. Let's plunge into the unknown.
Consciousness before and after death, persistence, transformation, and emerging evidence. The enigma of consciousness, its nature, persistence, and potential transformation before and after death has long captivated philosophers, spiritual leaders, and scientists. Recent advancements in neuroscience, resuscitation medicine, cellular biology, quantum physics, and parapsychology have shifted this inquiry from speculative to empirical, offering tantalizing glimpses into what happens to consciousness at the threshold of death. Materialist paradigms, which tie consciousness to brain activity, suggest it ceases at death, yet mounting evidence from near-death experiences, NDEs, post-mortem brain activity, cellular reorganization, and quantum theories challenges this view. Death, once seen as a singular moment, is now understood as a process, with neural and cellular activity persisting for minutes, hours, or even days. This essay synthesizes the latest research up to September 2025, weaving key findings into a narrative that explores consciousness changes before and after clinical death, incorporating new studies, examples, and implications for science, ethics, and philosophy.
Defining consciousness in the death process. Consciousness, the subjective experience of awareness, remains a scientific frontier. Theories like integrated information theory, IIT, propose it emerges from complex neural interactions, while others like quantum biocentrism suggest it may be a fundamental property of the universe, unbound by physical constraints. Clinical death, marked by the cessation of heartbeat and breathing, has traditionally been viewed as the end of consciousness. However, recent studies reveal that death is a spectrum, with brainwaves, cellular functions, and even reported experiences persisting or transforming post-mortem. This redefinition frames the central question: does consciousness fade, persist, or evolve during this liminal phase? To address this, researchers have employed EEG and fMRI scans, resuscitation protocols, cellular assays, and parapsychological investigations. Below, I integrate key findings from 2024 to 2025, presenting them as a narrative flow rather than a standalone table to highlight their contributions to understanding consciousness at death.
Consciousness before death, pre-mortem transformations. As the body approaches death, consciousness often exhibits remarkable shifts, defying expectations of decline. A pivotal study published in Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience by Zemmer et al. 2022, with updated analysis in 2024, captured the first EEG of a dying human brain, an 87-year-old patient with epilepsy. The data revealed surges in gamma oscillations 30 to 100 Hz, associated with memory, perception, and dreaming, persisting for 30 seconds before and after clinical death. The brain remained active and coordinated, suggesting a structured process akin to a life recall seen in NDE reports. This implies that consciousness may not simply fade, but engage in a final, vivid orchestration of memories and experiences. Similarly, a 2024 study in anesthesiology by Masher et al. Identified explosive synchronization in dying brains where incoherent neural activity abruptly coheres, resembling patterns in epileptic seizures or social contagion. This phenomenon, observed in patients nearing death, suggests a hypersensitive state that could enable profound clarity. The study notes that 10 to 20% of cardiac arrest survivors report NDEs characterized by vivid, transformative experiences such as out-of-body sensations or encounters with deceased loved ones. These findings challenge the notion of consciousness as a passive byproduct, proposing instead that it amplifies in the pre-mortem phase, potentially preparing the individual for transition. Terminal lucidity, where terminally ill patients exhibit sudden cognitive clarity, further supports this view. A 2024 University of Michigan study documented cases where patients with advanced dementia or brain damage briefly regained lucidity, conversing coherently or expressing purpose. Sam Parnia, in a September 2025 University of Chicago podcast, described a universal deep purpose emerging in dying patients, independent of neurological decline. For example, a 68-year-old hospice patient, previously unresponsive, sat up to share a heartfelt farewell with family, despite no measurable brain recovery. Such cases suggest that consciousness may reorganize or intensify as death approaches, possibly driven by neural mechanisms like gamma surges or yet unexplained processes.
Consciousness after death, evidence of persistence. The post-mortem phase offers even more provocative insights. The AWARE-2 study, 2023 to 2025, led by Sam Parnia and reported in Popular Mechanics, July to September 2025, used AI-assisted EEG to detect hidden awareness in cardiac arrest patients. In patients removed from ventilators, gamma burst persisted, indicating expanded rather than diminished consciousness. One striking case involved a 55-year-old patient who during clinical death accurately described medical procedures and conversations in the operating room, a veridical out-of-body experience, OBE, verified by staff. Despite an 80% mortality rate limiting sample size, this case suggests consciousness may operate non-locally, untethered from a functioning brain. Borjagin's 2024 to 2025 research at the University of Michigan, also highlighted in Popular Mechanics, identified temporoparieto-occipital surges in dying patients, regions linked to dreaming and OBEs. These surges, lasting minutes post-arrest, challenge the idea of immediate cessation. For instance, a 2024 case study of a 72-year-old cardiac arrest survivor reported a vivid NDE involving a panoramic life review and a sense of universal connection, corroborated by EEG spikes in memory-related areas. These findings align with the 2024 Neuroscience of Consciousness study by Marshall and Carhart-Harris, which compared NDEs to DMT-induced states. The study found that NDEs created disconnected consciousness, marked by out-of-body perspectives and heightened awareness, suggesting altered neural connectivity rather than shutdown. Cellular research adds another layer. Noble and Potsakov's 2025 study published in Popular Mechanics introduced the concept of a third state after clinical death. In mice, zebrafish, and human tissue, genes activated post-mortem, and cells reorganized into autonomous structures called xenobots. For example, human skin cells, hours after death, formed modal structures capable of simple tasks, suggesting a dynamic biological state beyond traditional death. If consciousness is distributed across cellular networks, as some theories propose, this third state could support proto-conscious processes, transforming rather than ending awareness.
Parapsychological evidence, though controversial, bolsters persistence arguments. The University of Virginia's Division of Perceptual Studies, DOPS, reported in a January 2025 New York Times article, has documented over 2,500 reincarnation cases, primarily in children aged 2 to 6. A notable example involves a 4-year-old Indian boy who recalled detailed memories of a deceased merchant in a neighboring village, including names, locations, and events verified through historical records. These cases, spanning cultures e.g. India, Thailand, and the U.S., suggest consciousness may transfer across lives. Similarly, the Institute of Noetic Sciences IONS 2024 to 2025 essay grades NDEs as M- evidence for survival, citing consistent phenomenology, out-of-body experiences, tunnels of light, and transformative aftereffects like reduced fear of death. Mediumship studies, graded B+, include cases like a 2024 experiment where a medium accurately relayed details about a deceased individual's life, verified by family. Quantum theories offer a speculative yet compelling framework. A 2025 Cambridge Open Engage review argues that consciousness may be fundamental, supported by quantum entanglement and observer effects. Experiments showing retrocausality, where observation influences past states, suggest death could be a perceptual shift, akin to a frequency change in a multiverse. Biocentrism, championed by Robert Lanza, posits that consciousness shapes reality, making death a transition rather than termination. For example, a 2025 quantum study demonstrated entangled particles maintaining correlations across vast distances, hinting at a non-local substrate for consciousness that survives physical death.
Skeptical perspectives and methodological hurdles. Skeptics remain cautious. A 2024 EMBO reports article dismissed cellular consciousness as pseudoscience, attributing post-mortem brain surges to oxygen deprivation or artifacts. Critics argue that NDEs result from hypoxia, drug effects, or confabulation, not survival. For instance, a 2024 study in Nature Reviews Neuroscience suggested that NDE visuals, e.g., tunnels, stem from visual cortex overstimulation under stress. Reincarnation studies face scrutiny for reliance on anecdotal reports, and the high mortality rate in cardiac arrest studies, 80% in AWARE-2, limits verifiable OBEs. Professional bias also hinders parapsychological research, with mainstream scientists avoiding the field due to reputational risks. Yet, anomalies persist. Coordinated gamma surges, verified OBEs, and cellular reorganization defy simple explanations. Methodological challenges include small sample sizes, e.g., single-patient EEGs, and the subjective nature of NDE reports. Larger multi-center trials with real-time brain monitoring and standardized NDE protocols are needed to bridge the gap between materialist and non-materialist views.
Transformative impacts and broader implications. The transformative power of these experiences is undeniable. A 2024 study in Frontiers in Psychology found that 78% of NDE experiencers reported increased compassion, with 64% seeking therapy to integrate their experiences. For example, a 45-year-old nurse who survived a cardiac arrest in 2023 described a cosmic unity during her NDE, leading her to volunteer with hospice care. Christoph Koch's 2024 book Consciousness, Confessions of a Romantic Reductionist highlights how NDEs rewire empathy hubs, e.g., anterior cingulate cortex, fostering altruism. These changes suggest a survival mechanism that transcends the individual, possibly preparing consciousness for a post-mortem phase. Ethically, these findings could transform end-of-life care. If consciousness persists for minutes or hours post-death, as Parnia's AWARE-2 suggests, organ donation protocols could extend viable windows, potentially saving more lives. A 2025 Journal of Medical Ethics article proposed revising brain death criteria to account for post-mortem neural activity, citing cases where patients showed EEG activity hours after clinical death. Palliative care could also prioritize supporting lucid transitions, such as facilitating family interactions during terminal lucidity. Philosophically, the data bridges ancient spiritual claims, souls, reincarnation, or afterlife with empirical science. If consciousness is non-local or quantum-based, as biocentrism suggests, death becomes a phase of eternal exploration. This aligns with cultural narratives like Tibetan Buddhism's Bardo Thodol, which describes consciousness navigating intermediate states post-death. Scientifically, it challenges materialist dogmas, urging a paradigm shift toward interdisciplinary models.
New and emerging research, 2025. Recent studies deepen the inquiry. A September 2025 Journal of Near-Death Studies article reported on a multi-center trial involving 50 cardiac arrest patients, where 15% exhibited gamma surges up to 10 minutes post-arrest, with 2 reporting veridical OBEs. Another 2025 study from the Journal of Cellular Biology found that human neurons, cultured post-mortem, formed new synaptic connections for up to 48 hours, suggesting a cellular basis for prolonged awareness. Additionally, a 2025 Physics of Life Reviews paper explored consciousness as a quantum field, proposing that death disrupts local neural coherence but preserves a universal wave function of awareness. These findings, while preliminary, underscore the need for further exploration. Conclusion: a dynamic frontier. The latest research, up to September 2025, redefines death as a spectrum rather than a moment. Gamma surges, cellular reorganization, NDE phenomenology, and quantum theories collectively suggest that consciousness may persist or transform through neural bursts, cellular dynamics, or non-local mechanisms. While skeptics highlight methodological gaps, verified OBEs, reincarnation cases, and post-mortem activity challenge annihilation models, consciousness appears resilient, capable of vivid reorganization before death and potential continuity afterward. Future research requires rigor, large-scale EEG trials, standardized NDE reporting, and interdisciplinary models integrating quantum and biological data. Ethically, these insights could reshape organ donation and end-of-life care, while philosophically, they invite a reevaluation of existence itself. Whether through a final life review, a cellular third state, or a quantum shift, consciousness at death remains a frontier of awe and mystery, suggesting that our awareness may be far more enduring than the body it inhabits.